Hey, what's up? My name's Rendi. Do I look warm? Well, I am. Warm enough to start talking about level 3 boss kills. Okay, today I'm continuing my grindy yet unique series on my level 3 one of one account. Now this is usually the part of the video here where I tell you why it is one of one and go over everything that this level 3 has achieved that no one else has, or less than a handful of people have. But the list is getting quite literally so long that naming every little thing itself is a handful in itself, so just know this. I love building trophy accounts and I want this to be the best trophy account in the game. To summarize, this account shows up on the level 3 skiller high scores, has a fire cape with all 1 stats, and has much more that no one else has. And that's why it's cool and unique, like me. We're all unique. You know, you're 1 in 7 billion. Before we get into this episode, if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel and are a fan of my content, please be my guest and hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support me. So in the last episode of this level 3 one of one series, which I'll link in the description below, I got some unique combat achievements done as I'm going for a completionist route on this account when it comes to combat achievements, and many of these combat achievements no level 3 skiller has ever done. Wow. I'm also going for more combat achievements in general to maintain my Gommel's Hilt 3 due to the influx of bossing updates constantly pushing through the threshold to carry this hard hilt up as the point requirement rises with those updates. Yeah, I want a safety barrier basically of a couple hundred points when all of this is said and done, as this should pretty much permanently lock me in for the hilt for the rest of the game's existence, or at least until I die at about 95 years old, because I plan on living a long time. And yes, blah blah, I'm currently the only level 3 with this hard hilt. So today, with Diet Coke in hand, we will continue this journey and once again take on combat achievements and flood the boss high score leaderboards for all of skillers. The 3 bosses today though are as follows: the Deranged Archeologist, the Kalphite Queen, and lastly the Giant Mole. Each of these will have a unique method to them, slightly varying from the other, but at the core of them all is a simple item here: Poison Dynamite. A little refresher for those who don't know about Poison Dynamite: currently the only way to get Poison Dynamite is either farm like 5 entire Poison Dynamites a day from the Draenor Manor patch, or hop worlds and pick up 1 out of 3 nightshades required to add to 1 dynamite. I can only collect about 300 dynamite per day before hitting the world hop timer cutoff, and even in preparation for the bosses just in today's episode, I'll be spending around 20 hours picking up dynamite across several days. Specifically, one of these bosses, being the Kalphite Queen, will take a lot of Poison Dynamite, as there is no reliable way to lower its defense level unless I just want to waste even more time, but in a different format. Meaning, on average, for 1 Kalphite Queen kill, we're looking at about 30 dynamite or 90 worlds being hopped of Nightshade. I would need 25 and even 50 kill count for the kill count task of the Kalphite Queen. Once again, just because I'm going for completionist combat task points here. That's 1500 dynamite for only 50 KC on average, or about 4,500 world hops across the span of a few days, and about 15 to 20 hours of world hopping alone, not counting the time that I'm restricted to world hop, which comes into play after about 4 hours of world hopping a day. So to start this episode off, I went and collected another 1000 dynamite here as well, past the 1500 threshold for future bosses, amounting in a total of about 30 hours of dynamite and nightshade collection. So technically, before even starting the real grind, I spent roughly a week with these logout restrictions getting the necessary dynamite for these tasks. If you aren't familiar with dynamite, it's basically an item you light on fire with a tinderbox that can hit between 1 and 4 damage on NPCs with only full HP. A lot of skillers use this for quests, some bossing, pretty much everything involving combat. It still only rolls off your highest attack stat, similar to a cannon. This is bad though, because I only have 1 stats in all of my stats as a level 3 on the high scores, meaning there's going to be a lot of misfires with the Poison Dynamite, and that's why it just takes so much per kill. It also has a 1 in 4 chance of poisoning on a successful hit. Besides, NPCs using this dynamite for the true damage. Most of the means for killing these NPCs will involve neutral damage across other accounts such as recoils, vengeance, full DH with an amulet of the damned, echo boots, retribution, venom, poison, and more. Neutral damage is not attributed towards any account, so if my level 3 does the most amount of real damage with the Poison Dynamite to these bosses' health without it going back to full, then that kill will go to my level 3. Who knows? Maybe after all these kill counts, we'll even get a Kalphite Queen or a mole pet in today's video as a level 3. This could all be worth it. Now, onto the first of the 3 bosses for my level 3, this being the Deranged Archeologist. Don't get it confused with the Crazy Archaeologist, which I killed in my last episode, and once again I hope to come back to someday and spear across the entire wilderness. This Archaeologist is not even in the wilderness. He's in Fossil Island, out in the middle of nowhere, past all these poisonous things and other things that do damage to my accounts. I plan on using a Venom ult with this boss because he is one of the only bosses in today's video that actually is not immune to poison or venom. Also because while my 8 Venge accounts don't even have access to Fossil Island because they don't have Bon Voyage quest done or even dig site quest done, and I'm not about to get the kudos and do the quest line on 8 different accounts, it's just not worth my time. For this slight increase in kills per hour, it's going to decrease us just from the amount of time required to get those accounts there. But even without having to do it on those 8 accounts, there was another problem. My Serpentine Trident ult I used to venom kill some of these bosses didn't even have the quest done either. I had to get the kudos by going to the Varrock Museum and cleaning finds, get the dig site pendant, and then do Bon Voyage quest. I also decided to unlock the mushroom transports on all 3 of these accounts, including my level 3, the main, and the Serpentine alt, as well as on the main, got a dig site pendant and mounted it on my player-owned house, as I'll be teleporting back and forth between my house and Fossil Island by unlocking the Fossil Island teleport with the dig site pendant and using it on the wall. It's just easier to keep up with. So yeah, my main will be constantly teleporting to use the spec transfer pool in the house. Yes, the one that I found out that I downgraded last time without realizing there was even 2 pool spots in the player-owned house. Guys, I do not play mains often. This main account is literally lent to me from a friend who doesn't even play the game anymore. It's news to me that there's 2 pool spots in a player-owned home, but thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate it. For future reference, I literally don't pay attention to about 75% of this game, despite what other people think. Anyways, I'm then mounting the dig site pendant to go back to the island quickly and get back to the Deranged Archaeologist quickly with special attack energy. And I'll be repeating the process again and again. My Venom ult would use vulnerability first though, with a Tome of Water to initially lower the Archaeologist's defense down about 20%. Then I will begin with the Elder Maul specs for about 5 or 6 of the successful specs, while my main here is brewed down to 0 or 1 strength. And by the way, the Elder Maul lowers 40% of the defense based on the current level of the defense the NPC's at. So at the last 2 specs, I'll take an Arc Light instead of an Elder Maul, switch into some stab bonus that this special attack rolls off of, and hit it twice successfully to finish off the base level decrease of 5% per spec, which equals out to about 10%, and finally lowers then that Deranged Archaeologist down to 0 defense. But the other problem with this is now I've hit him for about 15 HP. He's got a natural HP regen timer, so I have to wait about 15 minutes before he's full HP again, because once again, to use Poison Dynamite, an NPC has to be at full HP. So I'm going to go across 4 different worlds here, repeat the process, and while I'm doing that, eventually the first world will go back up to full HP. I will then hop back over on the main to the first world, do 1 more Arc Light spec, and sometimes I'll even have a 4th account here with Monster Examine and Dream Mentor done. Yes, that did have Bon Voyage quest done as well. And I'll check that NPC's defense level and HP, make sure it's at full, and after about 1 regen, it'll be at 1 or 2 defense. And then I can finally go in for the Poison Dynamite hit, which I want to hit 2 or more. It can hit between 1 and 4 once again. If it hits the 1, it's not going to be any good because my Venom ult is going to be using a Cursed Amulet to hit a 1 with a Snare, and the last account that hits the same or the majority damage gets the kill, so I need to hit a 2 to outweigh the 1 from the Venom ult. And if I hit a 1, I'll just simply climb back over to the safe spot and relog before that 1 in 4 chance of poison kicks in on the NPC, hits it for a 6, and makes me have to wait 7 minutes instead of 1 minute to go in and try and re-Poison Dynamite it again. So eventually I'll hit that 2, climb over the branches here, then I'll take my Venom ult, use the Snare, hit a 1, and instantly trigger the Venom, and that'll clock down over time, hitting eventually 20 damage at a time and taking down the Deranged Archaeologist. And while I'm doing this whole process, I'm still navigating across other worlds on the main account, teleporting between my house and the dig site pendant, and running back through the mushroom to the Deranged Archeologist, lowering the defense across once again 4 separate worlds. On the level 3, I am waiting out the 10-minute regression timer as well. I'm doing that with the Serpentine ult. So I'm going to actually be using my stackable nightshades from farming here and trade over dynamite when I need to from the main over to the level 3, just because I don't want to wait around for another 10 minutes at a time, and instead I'll make the dynamite once again on the spot. Now it takes me forever to farm this nightshade this way, but there's really only so many niche uses I'll need it in. Eventually there will probably be something I'll use it for, but for this small amount of dynamite used on the Deranged Archeologist, I honestly think it's worth the sacrifice. I was getting around 5 kills per hour here finally after the method was down packed at the Deranged Archeologist. So after about 5 hours, I finally hit the 10 and then 25 kill credit task for the NPC. I also managed to do the I don't want to read task, or whatever it's called in this version. I think that's what it's called for the Crazy Archaeologist. It's basically just the one where you avoid all the AoE damage across all of your accounts, even on the main who was teleporting in and specking, which was a little bit harder than I thought, but after a few kill count I got used to it and avoided all that damage and got that task done as well. Wow, so cool. Another lame collection log slot. Am I the first level 3 with a longbone? I did want to go ahead lastly on this NPC and try something for the Kill the Archaeologist with a magic attack only task. This is because I had heard from the grapevine that Poison Dynamite actually rolls as a magic based attack, but I believe it's still technically in the style of your highest stat you're using. Even though it is rolling a magic based attack, it doesn't roll off magic, so it kind of kills these tasks, similar to a cannon, and you cannot use magic as your highest base stat as well for a cannon or for the Poison Dynamite. Either way, I wanted to test it myself, and I dumped about 30 dynamite after a singular 20% vulnerability with the Tome of Water to make sure no one else had done anything besides magic damage or magic attacks to try and complete this task. If the dynamite did in fact register as so-called magic damage, then I could go in with the 2 damage, then hit a 1 damage with the snare and finish it off with venom, and nothing would have hit it besides magic attacks. Unfortunately though, the dynamite did not count as a magic attack, and the only way to get this task done in the future would be to waste a few magic XP and have a chance at a few splashes. This could probably be done as he has no magic level defense, and I would have to hit a 2 or above as well as not splash. But once again, as I talked about in the last episode, I'm reserving my magic XP currently for possible future tasks I talked about earlier. Okay, so on to the premier boss though of today's show, the Kalphite Queen, aka the Dynamite Dumper herself. And if we're calculating kills per hour with dynamite collection this time, that thing took me almost 1 hour per kill. Now with this beautiful woman here, there was no lowering of her defense, well other than a 20% once again vulnerability spell with the Water Tome. This is because Jagex did a specific patch to this boss a few years back with the Limpwort series when he was killing it as an Iron Man in that chunk locked area, and because he was doing that with the help of alts, I guess they didn't like it, even though they don't make any other Iron Man integrity changes, and in fact it just allows for more niche and unique ways to kill things on Iron Man. They're harder to do that way, so I don't know why they adjust this crap. But anyways, basically the patch made it to where all the damage ever registered to this NPC, even after its HP regeneration, counts towards the kill. Meaning if I did want to lower this thing's defense down, I would have to only hit 1s on it across a span of several accounts, which an Elder Maul can't even guaranteed hit a 1. Maybe an Arclight under 43 strength bonus with the strength brewed down, but all of my alt accounts with Venge here have a problem. They don't even have Shadow of the Storm done, and that sounds like it would actually be much more work across 8 accounts to do the Shadow of the Storm quest line than just collecting the Poison Dynamite over a period of time. So that's going to be a no-go for me, as well the process to doing that with all these different accounts across different worlds. This process, as you're going to see already, is hectic enough as is. It's actually very intense, and you're going to see the setup and the specific little things that have to go into it. It is a bit extra. So yeah, instead I'll be doing the dump here and sacrificing, like I said, about 30 Poison Dynamite on average for each Kalphite Queen kill credit, or 1500 total for 50 kills. Maybe, just maybe though, we can get a pet or heads or something here as a level 3 and luck out in the vast 50 kills we're going for here in the next 20-ish hours. Do you know what doesn't take 1500 Poison Dynamite to get though? an Apex Bronze gaming PC. Today I'm partnering with Apex Gaming PCs to bring you all, my viewers, a great deal and discount on their PCs if you're looking for a new one. We all know for RuneScape you don't need really the best PC, but maybe one that's more affordable. The Apex Bronze is a very affordable pre-built here, with actually some decent specs on it and all you would ever need to play RuneScape, and multiple clients at that. Honestly, it's a perfect entry-level PC for any gamer for multiple games, and if you really needed to, you could even upgrade your PC over time with this wonderful tower they have it all pre-built into. It can be shipped to you in 2 to 3 weeks, and it has honestly everything you need. But if you wanted more, they have other models as well in their lineup selection. They have the Apex Streamer and the Apex Streamer Plus, which you can all check out on their website. So what are you waiting for? Thank you to Apex Gaming PCs for partnering with me, and you can go check out their entire lineup of PCs. And don't forget, you can get an additional 5% discount when using my discount code Rendi when you purchase any Apex Gaming PC. Okay, so back to something that does take 1500 Poison Dynamite, the Kalphite Queen. Let's waste some dynamite, shall we? If you didn't know, I already took on 2 of the KQ tasks in my 3rd episode of this series with the use of my friend Cave Horror's Retribution alts that kept coming down here for over an hour to get these 2 tasks done. So much fun. This new KQ method though I'm using today took a while to get down packed, was much quicker, but eventually I had something working which got me maybe 3 kills per hour max. I know, wow, so much quicker. Okay, get ready to follow this method. It's actually hectic and a mouthful for me just to explain this step-by-step process of what finally went down here, but it's really neat to watch, so enjoy either way. First, I would line up one account here that was previously my Venom alt. You can't poison or venom KQ, but this guy here is going to have the aggro plugin on and find the aggro lines and use some magic. And once on the first world I'll be using, I'll grab the aggression of the 2 Kalphite soldiers upstairs to avoid them from hitting my other accounts, including my level 3. If you grab their aggro while still in the 10-minute timer for aggression on this account here while in multi, they'll never unfocus you, and I can then just AFK and safe spot them in this world. After grabbing this aggression, I would then rebond my 7 Venge alts, which had now ran out of membership, and buy them ropes, antidotes, more Venge runes, some dueling rings, and of course Shantae passes, while then transporting them down to the end of the Kalphite lair, still on the top floor but 1 tile away from the entry of the Queen's area. And here is where they would stay pretty much for the entire KC, never moving except to hop worlds. And eventually these accounts would not even have to worry about the other 2 NPCs that the Venom alt here is holding after their 10-minute de-aggro timer as well. The other 2 accounts though would, as I bring them down here, and that would be the main tank account and the level 3 account more specifically, that I do not want to get hit by these soldiers up here. So my main account would honestly need Desert Hard Diary done for this method, and preferably Fairy Tale Part 2 for the fairy ring without Drayman staff required, and the house for faster transport back to the lair. Luckily I had both of these on this main, and I would bring mini house teleports, an antidote plus 2 per potions, some vulnerability casts with a Tome of Water, magic gear, and then full Darax with an Amulet of the Dam switch, plus Ring of Suffering to teleport out me in the max cape, along with the rest of my inventory filled with brews. This account wouldn't need ropes and could freely go up and down in the Kalphite lair without the need for the extra inventory, and this is important, and we'll see why later on. Originally the main would go inside in the magic gear and wait for the Kalphite to go northwest or go up and down till it was around this area. I would then use the vulnerability cast with the saturated heart and Tome of Water for the 20% decrease in the Kalphite's defense to cut down on some of the poison dynamite I would need to use on the level 3. After getting it trapped in this northwest corner and vulnerability, I would then take aggro of the 2 soldiers downstairs now with my main with protect melee on. From here I would then run all the way through the desert, through the lair on my level 3 using pies, Guthix rest if needed, antidote pluses, ropes, and avoiding the damage from the 2 soldiers upstairs thanks to my other alt holding them. I was on 9 accounts total at this time. From here I would use my second rope, go down on the level 3 while KQ was stuck northwest, and while the main was holding the other 2 aggroed NPCs downstairs, and go into the specific tile. This is where I would then log out on the level 3. From here, I would then take the Kalphite southwest and then finally east to grab the 2 soldiers in the front of it towards the east, following then this run pattern at a specific timing while walking in its body. Pretty much every time with this specific pathing, the Kalphite Queen would then get stuck on the corner where the level 3 could then log in with it trapped inside of its body. While I'm now inside its body here on the level 3 in my crush bonus, which is what KQ is weak to, I would then super attack potion to increase my chances and fire away sometimes my entire inventory of Poison Dynamite. Sometimes I would get lucky and get the hit off in a few dynamites, and other times it would take me multiple inventories to get the hit off. I think the record for me at this point was about 90 dynamites used for one singular hit, or yes, 270 world hops of picked nightshades for a singular kill. If I failed the hit, I would then teleport out with an Eternal Glory to Aaraxor and bank. I would hold this spot on the main still, and sometimes use a vulnerability to make sure Kalphite Queen didn't reset, as it had a 5-minute reset spawn timer if not in combat, and vulnerability would do no damage, keeping its HP at full. Once I'm now back in Aaraxor, I would re-gear my Poison Dynamite, ropes, food, super attack potion, antidotes, Shante passes, and eat yet again on my way back to the Kalphite lair, tanking a couple of those smaller Kalphites. I would then now see the Kalphite is trapped. It could be in one of two spots randomly, which I had the tiles marked for based on its attack range. I would stand at the edge of its attack range, wait for it to rotate its aggression towards my main that was in its body still, and more than likely only using one attack on my level 3 while then running from this tile into its body, I could tick eat while I was running towards this safe spot. I would also need to protect magic on my main here and make sure it was not yet switched into recoil gear, as once again I need the Kalphite at full HP to use my Poison Dynamite once I'm in its body. The magic protect on the main would make it to where the magic attack wouldn't roll off my main, since it's an AoE attack that hits everyone surrounding me in the room, and therefore this could overshot my HP on the level 3 if it rolled the damage off of my main, which was a 50-50 chance, making it untick-eatable. 9 out of 10 times I would make it back in the body of Kalphite Queen, although there was a slight chance once again he could melee me and kill me the tick before running into his body on the level 3 if he did 2 attacks in a row right off the bat, which did happen rarely. Even if this did happen though, I would just throw up a gravestone that was accessible now in the body of Kalphite Queen, where I could then pull out more dynamite, which sometimes I did, and sometimes this was actually helpful. I could technically have death piled 120 Poison Dynamite at a time remotely in a grave here in this spot to never have to bank, but the upkeep and making sure it never expired was a hassle in itself, especially while controlling 9 accounts at the same time here with this method. Finally, after getting a 1 or more hit from the dynamite though, sometimes after multiple inventories, I then switched into the Amulet of the Damned along with my Ring of Suffering and full DH on the main to quickly then run out of its body, teleport away on the level 3, and lower it from full HP to a couple under with these 2 effects, being the recoil from the Amulet of the Damned and the Ring of Suffering. Luckily here, I did only need to hit a 1, as once again no Venom alting was being used, therefore the damage was irrelevant, and its HP regen on the Kalphite Queen wasn't too fast, just the standard 1 per minute, and I would instantly get those 2 hits off from the DH and Ring of Suffering. From here I would climb up the stairs and venge my account with my 7 Venge alts over and over again. Sometimes the Kalphite Queen would get lost and I would have to drag her back, but overall this was a better method than having to only focus on this one account here with the hard desert diaries without the need for ropes, and only having to regear this one account once per kill for food, rather than a vast majority of counts taking AoE damage and sorting them all out downstairs. I would put protect for melee on as well on the main once again to make sure that none of its workers or soldiers somehow triggered my vengeance or recoil damage, and only the KQ's range or mage attack from afar did so when going down the rope. So my inventory of brews at 99 hit points on this main would work out perfectly for the vengeance for each kill, and also my level 3 would then route its way back to the end of the Kalphite dungeon while doing this vengeance combination in case an untradeable like a Kalphite Queen head popped up and I wanted to grab it before the despawn timer went away after only 2 minutes. I would already be there and ready to go down the rope if need be. So now that my level 3 was back and ready to go, I would then venge down both forms of the Kalphite Queen over the next 15 minutes or so with the recoil plus DH effect as well. Whenever I was done with this kill, I would then change the worlds on all 9 accounts, grab the aggression timer off on the Venom alt upstairs, and re-tag the 2 soldiers up there, then go down and vulnerability, re-lure the Kalphite northwest again so the level 3 could then re-enter and get back to the tile where it was standing, then logging off, banking on the main for more brews and more gear, re-luring the Kalphite Queen to the spot while my level 3 was logged out, then repeating the process. So like I said, along with the Dynamite collection, this whole 50 kill count took about 40 hours and some definite testing casting and muscle memory to get down. Not to mention I sped this up to pretty much as fast as it could go because I had just enough Venge accounts being 7 for this to not hit the cooldown timer with the 30 seconds you get from doing one vengeance. Unfortunately though, no pets or head was acquired during the 50 kill count on my level 3, but I did somehow manage to get a cool collection log slot, I guess, which I really don't care so much about, being this dragon chain body from Kalphite Queen on the level 3. Ooh, the only level 3 with dragon chain body collection log slot. Such a huge accomplishment. I did also, of course, though, get the 25 and 50 kill count Kalphite Queen task completed here though, and we could move on to the final boss of today's episode, being the giant mole, and maybe get lucky finally for a giant mole pet. So speaking of that, I adore the mole pet. It's probably one of my favorites in the game. Historically speaking, I went over 400 KC dry at 4 kills per hour back in the day on my 2015 defense peer account, trying to get this pet when it was one of the few in the game with only poison. Maybe our luck will catch up with us this time, even though we only need to kill this thing about 25 times and 425 KC is not even close to the drop rate. I'm really never lucky, and most things I get on rate or above rate, besides beaver pets, which I absolutely hate, by the way. I just feel like by the end of all these KC tasks, someday we have to get something, because there's a lot of bosses I'll have to kill over all these combat achievements. Now, we already have one mole KC from the hard hitter task I took on some episodes back, but once again we'll be using a different method for just the normal kill count. Although there is one task besides the 10 and 25 kill count tasks I still require to get done with the mole, and that is killing it after it resurfaces within 10 seconds. But for today's kill count, we're just going to be taking this on in the most efficient way possible, and when I say most efficient, I'm meaning like 3 or 4 kills per hour. Yeah, we're on a level 3, folks. We can only do so much. The good thing about these Venge alts I have here is that they are also spec transfer alts. So I grabbed an inextinguishable light source on all of these accounts, as they're all 49 fire making and can use the bullseye lantern actually. Yeah, they have 49 fire making, but they don't have these random shit quests completed. One of these 7 alts also has monster examine. Once again, I hopped through about 4 worlds on the main while having my strength brewed down and attack super potted up. Before special attacking, once again I used 1 vulnerability. From here I then went for the 6 Elder Maul specs and then 2 Arclight specs on each world, throwing the mole's HP on average down about 15 to 20, meaning a 15-minute wait time until it was back to full HP. This method therefore so far was similar to the Deranged Archeologist, but it gets a bit different, and no house tabs were needed because I had my alts here spec transferring because we were in a multi-combat zone that was accessible to all of them. So after the 4th world I would come back to the first one in a cycle and then respec it down one more time with the Arclight with a 1 hit with 0 strength brewed down and under 43 strength bonus to lower its defense back from 15 to 1 to therefore waste less dynamite on the level 3. Then waiting 1 more minute for the regen to full HP before finally throwing the dynamite on the NPC. From here, from the safe spot, I begin lighting the dynamite, and after a hit I would then take an alt with a cursed goblin hammer, a splash weapon that always hits zeros these days, and vengeance plus ring of suffering to try and immediately venge the mole's HP down to make sure he did not go back up from that dynamite hit to full HP, therefore giving my other account the kill credit eventually. I found out that mole stats really weren't that high though, and therefore I would need an alt with preferably venge but a lower defense level. Now 40 defense is the absolute minimum you can get vengeance at, so for the first few kills I had a friend here called Rage Baiter, I know, lovely name, help me out with this, as he had an account with low defense and he would Zammy brew his defense down even lower and run around with his vengeance and his ring of suffering. From there, besides using his own vengeance, I would spec him on my 7 vengeance alts and tell him where the mole was located because I had the Falador diary completed on my main. Now here's where I had to point him where to go and where it got a little bit more hectic. The first part of his HP was great, lovely, very fast to take down with these Venge alts, but whenever the mole goes under half HP, he starts having a 50% chance to dig on every hit splat, which was wildly annoying because this could be even triggered by a 0 hit from the cursed goblin hammer just to take his aggression to get a Venge off, or just by the 1 Venge right after the 0 hit from the cursed goblin hammer, which is typically what happened before he teleported again, being on average once again a 50% chance. Looking back at this method, it would have been way better to just have splash magic gear here, because splashing with magic actually can't trigger a teleport, unlike the fake splash here with the goblin hammer weapon being the 0 that it hits. I realized after Rage Baiter had to go to bed and logged out after a couple of kills that I actually owned a 40 defense Venge alt that was sitting here the whole time, and it even had 99 HP, so I went ahead and geared that up and used that myself to pre-venge on an alt, then run around after the mole with another Venge in my pocket on my spellbook ready to go. Usually the mole didn't last more than 2 Venge hits anyways before teleporting away, and I would run by Venge alts while he was under half HP on the way for another pre-Venge and keeping the other Venge in my pocket if the mole was en route of all of my accounts back at the save spot. I wore a Ring of Suffering as well as a Berserker necklace to lower my defense bonus and would use this account as the tank without having to keep defense too low, honestly, as 40 was low enough and I almost got hit every single time with this. I didn't really have to Zammy brew my defense down after all like Rage Baiter did. So once again though, luckily on my main I had a Fally Shield 4 and could locate the rough direction via the minimap on this client to run the 40 defense account over to, cutting down on some of the time, and I could kind of see where the mole was teleporting to because of this. Although even after all of this, I still used a lot of stamina, food, and banked often on that account with the lower 40 defense, and after about 15 minutes of running around like a chicken with my head cut off, I could then get a singular kill and then re-gear for a new inventory of brews and staminas. So it was harder to find free worlds on this boss because people with Fally Diary done actually farm this thing, I found out, for cash, and many times my worlds that I was lowering defense on were taken over while I was hopping around or just downright crashed in the middle of a kill. This, along with having to chase it, averaged my kills down to about 3 to 4 per hour, and I would need 24 more from the initial one, meaning it would take me about 6 to 8 hours to actually get this task done. Plus the Poison Dynamite collection, which I'm leaving out in this entire estimate of time. Eventually, I also got the task to kill the mole within 10 seconds of it resurfacing by getting just a little bit lucky by it teleporting closely and resurfacing nearby and having 2 Venges in the pocket once again. I couldn't lower the mole down too far though and prep it, or it would just never teleport under 5% health. Then a lucky hit with the 2 Vengeances after that after it teleported, but finally after a few kills I managed to hit this luck as well as get the 10 KC task and then finally the 25 KC task at the mole. And no, I did not get a mole pet. I wanted the mole pet. Out of all the pets I wanted, that was the one I wanted. Didn't get lucky again. Never lucky. So I plan to take on a few more bosses in the next video here very soon. I've already actually done some of them, but most of the methods you'll see in the next video will be slight alterations, and one specifically though I'm excited to show you, mainly because it looks hands down ridiculous and even utilizes a black salamander with no ammunition. Yeah, don't ask me how I even come up with this. After that video, for one even further down the line, I plan to then take some of my retribution based tasks with my retribution alts I'll need to rebond up, and then finally take on some frost naguas to become the first level 3 to acquire the pendant of 8s because of that Heart of Darkness halfway completion point I hit earlier on. I also want to take on some of the Royal Titan tasks, which I found out are possible as a level 3. The pendant of 8s itself will take another load of dynamite and further testing with the help of accounts that are already at the part of the quest of Heart of Darkness. I also plan to once again eventually push the Crazy Archaeologist with spears, spec transfer alts across the entire wilderness at some point to get that magic based combat achievement task. I also plan to get a Tob pet and hard mode Tob eventually, and move pretty soon here in real life, so that's happening at the very end of March. You'll see me go dark for a little bit of time, but I gotta get everything reset back up in here, and I will definitely be back with some more content, and I'll be pumping these next 2 videos out before then as quickly as possible. If you guys enjoyed today's video, once again please subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to support me, and I'll see you again here soon with a salamander in my arms.